A blessed good morning and good day to everyone from the Caribbean and around the rest of the world. I understand this morning we have someone from Algeria, Africa. Special welcome to you. We go that far. Wow. Thank you for being on the call, each and every one of you. My name is Maureen Brown, and I am from Barbados. I am your host today, and I just want to remind you of why we are here. Our founder, Dr. Ruja, has said we are learning today so we can lead tomorrow. What is One Academy? One Academy is an innovative e-learning platform covering a broad range of financial topics, including trading, the stock exchange, cryptocurrency, financial analysis, asset management, and more. Our mission is to provide our students with the guidance and educational materials they need to achieve financial literacy. One Academy was developed by finance experts and academics. It is highly structured and easy to understand. You learn at your own pace and can be part of the future of global finance. Since the start of the week, we have adopted a new format of presenting One Academy for the next 2 weeks. We will be presenting Level 1 once again, and our intention is to give you a unique sense of understanding of straightforward facts that you can use immediately to enhance your daily lives as well as promote our core product, One Academy. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. This is an interactive exercise, and our presenters will answer those questions as we go along. Also, at the end, we would allow one or two contributions. I still want to encourage you to take copious notes. For those of you who have not been certified at level 1, please take this opportunity to do so. I need to mute someone's mic. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, I think that is covered. The new format will consist of a discussion with 2 presenters. In fact, this morning we might even have 3 presenters on the line. This morning, I'm going to now hand you over to Dr. Larry Pereira, who will take the lead and introduce the other presenters. Gentlemen, the call is over to you.
Yes, a pleasant good morning to all One Academites, wherever you are. Thank you so much, Maureen. It's indeed a pleasure once again to be on the call this morning. And of course, further afield to my good friend, Mr. Saman Malika. I hope I have your pronunciation correct, sir. Good morning to you. I think it's about 11 a.m. where you are. It's indeed a privilege to have you tuning in from North Africa. Today we will be, of course, continuing where we would have left off yesterday. We spoke a lot about reducing your expenses, liabilities, and so on. And of course, I have my able-bodied doctor himself, Dr. Alvin Morton. Good morning to you, sir. It's indeed a pleasure to have you here. So good to have you here, sir.
Good morning to one and all. Good morning, Professor Pereira. It's a privilege to be on the call once more.
Good, once again. So how are you this morning, sir? Yeah, I know you're prepped and ready to go. I know you would be smiling from ear to ear.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Looking forward to it.
All right. So we are continuing this morning's discussion, Dr. Egg, as it relates to reducing our liabilities. We would have spoken heavily yesterday about reducing your expenditures. I would like you to give us your take as it relates to reducing liabilities. We talk about, the excessive spending and consumer debt and so on. What are your perspectives on that as we move into this call right now, sir?
It's a very important aspect. It's a controllable aspect. There are a lot of experts, of course, that always advocate, whether it's Susie Ormond or Tony Robbins, any of these persons. But we do not need to look that far to take what I probably would call common sense approaches to reducing expenses. Taxes and insurance, as I had placed in the chat room, would be one area that provides a fertile and vivid ground for one to use the imagination to reduce expenses. You had mentioned quite extensively the business of a kitchen garden, for instance. And I know that in schools they are talking about and teaching children, probably one of the few instances where the education system is pointing us in the correct direction, about the grow box method and how one can plant multiple garden crops, so to speak, in a very small area, and by extension, provide you with a very simple way, a very simple approach for reducing expenses. You also went into some detail about this business of buying food extensively, and not that we shouldn't, because it's a great change sometimes from perhaps eating in the way that you may be accustomed to it, for those of us that cook extensively and like so to do. But we must recognize that a decent lunch is at least $50 a month, $50 a day, sorry. $50 a month would be a steal of a deal. That would perhaps have been 20, 30 years ago. $50 a day. And you're doing that for 5 days. That's $250. You multiply that by 4 for 4 weeks. That's 100. And of course, by 12, that's 1,200. And in one life terms, that's just about $300 or $400 short of a starter package. So that many times, as was indicated in the discussion yesterday, we do say that we don't have money and we can't find money and the like, and not that there aren't perhaps legitimate instances where that is the case. But if we do spend a little bit of time just looking hard, really hard, and perhaps maybe not even that hard, at our expenses, we may quickly uncover very, very simple means and ways by which we can reduce our expenses.
Absolutely, Dr. A. And of course, before we go forward, just wanted to give you some informed news because I think it's important. OneAcademy is about giving you the relevant information always as much as we can. Of course, one of the biggest and largest commodities that affect us every single day in most of our economies is the price of oil. Of course, we in the Caribbean are more enthused with the West Texas Intermediate, and it's actually now at over $70 a barrel. That would probably be very exciting news for folks living in Trinidad and Tobago, since we are unfortunately still a very much an oil-based society. Of course, gold is at just over $1,306 US, an ounce. Silver just over $16 an ounce so far, and of course moving right along. So when you really consider the economics of things, things are moving by leaps and bounds in terms of the oil perspective. Bitcoin today is actually at over 9,100 US dollars for one Bitcoin. So it actually is moving upwards. For the last week, it was kind of fluctuating, and of course it is expected. Of course, Bitcoin is now at just over 17 million in terms of the amount of coins Bitcoins has been producing in its system, just about 3 more million to go. And of course, we could expect, based on current estimates, that it's definitely going to rise higher than 9,000 US for one. So when we really consider this important topic of avoiding going into debt, it's a very important topic because every single one of us, all OneAcademites that are actually on this call, would have faced debt, may still be in debt, and would have had a lot of challenges relating to debt. When you really consider going into debt, you'd realize that well over 40 or even 50%, if we're not careful, of our total expenditures sometimes results from consumer debt. That is why I spent a significant amount of time yesterday helping us to recognize that if we are in our current situation right now, one of the best things, and even governments really have to practice that, is to reduce your deficit spending. And your deficit spending meaning using your credit cards or borrowing too much more than what you are actually earning. And that actually makes sense. So if you can actually stay within that margin, you could be in a better position. Of course, in the banking fraternity, if your total expenses crosses over 40% of your monthly income, the bank is not going to lend you money because it is too risky. So we talk about keeping savings, which is very important. So while we would have talked about land, gold, and silver, and even cryptocurrency, while all of those asset classes play a significant role in your portfolio, It is important that you must still save cash because you need liquidity, and liquidity is important for almost immediate needs. You can't really convert maybe the earnings from gold and silver almost immediately, or even cryptocurrencies overnight. So you definitely need to keep some savings to help you move along with your day-to-day living. We also talk about learning something new. Learning something new is very critical, because if you have specialized in a particular skill, and of course, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution. Blockchain technology is disrupting a lot of jobs now. So if we're not careful, even your current livelihood could be phased out simply because of the new technology that's emerging now with blockchain technology. Companies are looking to have a more trimmed profit margins, and as a result, you might very much trimmed out of the whole economic picture as far as your job is concerned. Of course, your job is a linear income, so which means that no matter how hard you work, or maybe you might just get a little more as it relates to overtime, but it's not significantly more to compete with the rising cost of inflation. So it begs us the question that we really need to start looking at other forms of income in terms of how we invest, and that's why investment is very important. So, Dr. A, as we continue this conversation, it's important, even in our read here on page 13, that it's also telling us that while it's important that we look at all these things, we have to also be careful that we're not keeping up even with the Joneses. Don't follow the crowd too much. Your thoughts and perspectives on that, sir?
Well, we need look only at Warren Buffett. One of the things that he says, and I'm not suggesting that everything he says that we should follow, but a particular point that he tends to make that stands out for me as we look at this particular section of the manual is that he would say when the crowd is bearish, or when people are selling, that's the time to buy. And when people are buying, that's the time to sell. Many times we can probably point in our own experience to instances where we have done something. We have followed a person or persons into a particular area. And in truth and in fact, it may not have resonated with whether it's a religious system that we follow, or a feeling, an instinct, a gut reaction. And in those instances when we have not followed that, and we have had the chance, either immediately or with the benefit of retrospection, to look back, we recognize that, or we may say in some shape or form, we really should not have done this particular course or have taken this particular decision or action. And for me, this is one of the things that stands out in the section, do not follow the crowd. Many times, and I'm pretty sure that there are many of us on the call who can point either in our own experience or to the experiences of others. When a particular course of action was taken, and we could tell that it was not in our best interest, and we might even have had some insight that it was not in the best interest of the person that did it. And if we are or were true to ourselves and true to those persons, especially if they happen to be friends and family, or both, we might have been inclined to have said something. And one of the challenges associated also with not following the crowd is that ability to speak up either for ourselves or for the persons involved, to say, look, this is not something that should be done, not because everyone is jumping off a bridge, means that we in turn should follow. There are some things that don't require belief, like gravity. And believe it or not following the crowd is one of those things. So those are just some of the perspectives. And the beauty of this OneAcademy, OneAcademites, is that there's a lot that is provided in terms of information, in terms of perspective, and that we ourselves can draw out, and in that sense, truly follow the definition of the word education, which is to draw out.
Absolutely. I want to actually bring Dr. Ivan Mark. I know you're on the call this morning, so I don't know if you're really close to your mic, but tell me something, Ivan, in terms of your perspective. So if you can actually unmute your mic at this point in time, what would be some of your perspectives as it relates to what we just spoke about, as it relates to even staying calm? Would you say that education, understanding a little bit about the financial world, or actually what you're actually dealing with your investments, plays a significant role in terms of how our emotions play in terms of finances? What says you, Dr. Mark? Can you unmute your
Hi.
mic, sir?
Yes, sir. Hi, hi. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Are
Good
you
morning.
hearing me?
We are hearing you loud and clear, sir. Welcome
All
to the
right. It's so
discussion.
it's so great to be in this discussion this morning. And good morning to all the One Academites and from all over the world. I see that we have a fantastic group of people there this morning. And Dr. Morton says so eloquently in the sense that at first, of course, debt is a cancer that eats away at our financial future. And the other thing is, of course, staying calm, as he said with Warren Buffett, how he takes the approach of going the opposite direction to the, swimming upstream sort of way. I believe that it is very, very important to stay calm. Why? Because emotions make you or allow you to make some very, very serious mistakes. Especially when you are backed up against a wall, you don't think correctly. And, when you have to make a decision without the facts, without the education, usually I would say maybe about 75 to 80% of the times you make the wrong decision. So getting the education, being prepared at any time to make an informed decision is very, very critical. Somebody told me yesterday that you do not prepare for war. I mean, you prepare for war in the time of peace. And many times when you are okay, that is the time you prepare for something adverse if in case it happens. And it comes much like savings. We talk about savings on the level one. The savings is really now letting you prepare not only for the rainy day, but for the opportunity that may come when you least expected that you could capitalize on. So it is very, very important to stay calm, to look at the situation very, very objectively, and also even get advice from experts, not just from the common people around you, but get advice. And because that we have so much methods of getting advice, so many means of getting information. We have, of course, the internet that you could do a lot of research on. We have just the normal means, and then we have experts. We have financial people who could give you some guidance into exactly what to do. But many times, Dr. Alvin and Dr. Pereira, many times we don't seek that advice. We want to handle things ourselves. And then because money is a sort of personal issue as well. So if you're not mature emotionally, a lot of times you tend to keep that to yourself, what you're going through. I mean, there are many times when I spoke outwardly on certain things that we went through. And many times you just put up a face and you tend to keep it to yourself instead of seeking guidance and help. So staying calm, of course, is one of the main aspects. Control your emotions in all circumstances. Going back to my own experience, although being in finance for so long, your emotions are very, very powerful. And they tend to kick in because a method of survival or flight. And many times we just flee and we don't stand up and fight. And that is the problem. So staying calm sometimes make you evaluate your method of fighting. All right.
Absolutely. That's a very, very powerful contribution, sir. And just before you, mute back your mic, I know you have extensive experience. For those who are now listening and now hearing, Dr. Ivan Markey is actually a diamond in this business. He's built a huge team, but most important, he has years of experience in the financial field. So you really want to start listening to even some of the things that he is saying too as well. But Ivan, tell me something very quickly as it relates to saving money for a down payment for a house. Do you think it's wiser to have more than 25% down payment as opposed to what the banks are encouraging people? No offense to the banks today, at maybe just about 10%. What would be the the advantages of actually putting more as it relates to down payment for a house rather than just maybe barely making 10%.
Yes, that is very, very critical, right? That quarter makes a huge difference in your monthly installments and also for the period of time, because remember, you are entering a mortgage for a long time, eh? And that's where the word mortgage come from. It's really mortality. It's really, a lot of times until you die. So if you just pay 10%, which is beneficial to the bank because they just get that amortized rate, really now accumulates for them and that mortgage income. Because if you look at a lot of institutions, the mortgage income is very high for them, that monthly installment that comes, at a regular basis. And the 25% reduces and it is always advisable to try and pay off a mortgage within probably 10 to 15 years. Don't go for 25, don't go for 30 years or anything like that. Because when you look at your lifespan and you look at all the things that could happen within that period of time to you, to an individual, to a family, sometimes you reach the 28th year, right? You reach the 26th, the 28th year, and something drastically happens. And all that effort, because remember, the house is not yours. So although it shows that, yes, you and the banks will give you this false sense of, yes, you own this house, right? Really and truly, it is a liability. As Rich Dad Poor Dad basically identifies, that sometimes it goes on both sides, right? And a lot of times the financial people hate to hear that. But if you really do it in practicality, it really is a liability unless you are making money from it. So the 25% reduces your expenditure by a tremendous amount. It comes like the 80-20 rule, just a little adjustment in the payment, in the down payment of a home, right? That 25%. So sometimes you're saying, okay, 10%, and then with all the other legal fees, it still adds up to a pretty penny. But if you really want to make the most of a mortgage, if you have to go into a mortgage, which is something I really don't like, my whole thing was always try and see if you could outwardly just own that property. But if you have to, I would advise anyone, first of all, always go with that 25 to 30% down payment and also go for 10 to 15 years, right? If you have to. A lot of the institutions do not allow you to make prepayments because they now hear this. And this here is very crucial to show where the angle that the bank and the financial institutions are coming from, because they penalize you for making prepayments. So are they really out for your benefit or for theirs? Because if you are trying to reduce your debt and pay off something so that you could rightfully own it quicker, then why are you penalizing me for making prepayments? You know why? Because they are amortized. So they have a certain amount of interest that they must earn from that particular environment, that particular deal that you would have done with them. And if they don't, then they penalize you because they have to make up the interest. So that is something that people have to know. And
Wow.
In her book, Learning for Profit, what is happening is that Dr. Ruja identifies that for anyone to be financially free, the first thing they must understand, and I'm telling you this and to the wider world, the first thing that you must understand is how the banking sector works. And people must know that there are certain laws and rules and regulations that we take for granted that the bank have against us, and they don't. But because we are ignorant, we allow a lot of things to happen. So that 10% down payment becomes a rule of thumb. So everybody just wants to really accumulate that 10%, bam, and they make a deposit, and they have their home, not knowing the trap that has been set.
But Ivan,
Right?
that's very powerful that you've said that. You know what actually comes to mind, Ivan, is with what the banks are basically doing in terms of amortization, and of course they're set in a particular way so that actually you're being penalized for making more payments. But what would be
Exactly.
your take basically as it relates to maybe going maybe short-term loans, or even if you want to go mortgage? Would you say that credit unions offer a better alternative than maybe commercial banks right now? Very quickly, I know because we are against time.
Yeah, yeah. You will say again, time, obviously, right? The credit unions do offer a better option. However, within recent times, the credit unions and all are becoming under the central bank guidelines. And before, like credit unions basically really didn't used to do like credit checks and all this sort of thing with an individual. It will really go on the share amount and so forth, right? Now they're doing this whole thing just like a bank, because central bank is now the credit unions are now going under the purview of the central bank. But however, they do offer a better option, right? Because of that reducing amount. Now, all the credit unions really used to go with an amortized schedule in the first place. But a lot of the charges, right, you sort of get away from it at credit union as opposed to the banks. And also, with the credit union, you can make that there's some that you can make that prepayment without being penalized. So it is my advice, right, that you look at all those options before you go into a bank. A bank is one of the most expensive way to get credit, and in any form of fashion.
Thank
So
you
you
so
need to
much.
understand that.
Thank you so much, Ivan, for that powerful contribution this morning, guys. I hope you've been taking copious notes, guys, this morning, because this thing is some serious information that was been sharing by Ivan. Mark, I mean, it's amazing the kind of information that's been shared this morning. You can be penalized for making, even more payments in the banking system. So really and truly, just about 2 years ago, Ivan, actually, I was actually talking to a loan officer in my credit union. And you know what he's saying? He's saying because how everything is now linked in terms of the financial services sector now in Trinidad and Tobago, of course, maybe in the wider region, it could be the same thing. If you falter on paying your phone bill, that can also be used against you for loan qualification. Could you believe that?
Oh yes, oh yes, that is indeed a fact. It has been here for a couple of years. So Trinidadians are tricky, right? So they would tell you no, they haven't
Yes.
applied for another loan, and the
Yes.
loans officer will tell them, but I saw that you went and did a credit check here with some other institution. It's a couple of days ago, right? And I'm seeing that you are late even on your phone bill. They start to mark the days. So if you are 3, 4, 5 days late, it affects your credit with TransUnion because it is now linked to a whole hub and a database with all your information in it. All right.
Wow.
So everything that you do, every phone bill, every electricity bill, every whatever other bills that you have, every hire purchase is basically now tied to TransUnion. And you have your credit score
Wow. That
unbeknownst
is
to you.
amazing. That is
Right?
that is
So
amazing. So you
yeah,
see, it really pays according to this manual here that we really need to stay informed, right?
that's right. You need to learn the rules of finances, people. You must. And banking is one of the major rules that you must know. We have to get a banker here who is, of course, objective
Yes, we
and not.
definitely will be making some pronouncements to maybe have a banker
Yeah,
that's on that could really kind of guide the community well. So, guys, thank you so much, Ivan, for that stunning contribution this morning. Of course,
yes, no
Dr. A,
problem.
we haven't slighted you at all this morning. Your perspectives as we're closing off already 29 minutes after the hour here this morning. We are having such a wonderful time. I'm excited. This is like better than morning coffee. But if you like your coffee still and you're tuning in, it's just as good, right? Your perspectives, Dr. A?
Well, thanks again to Professor Mark for that very incisive and insightful delivery of information. Certainly, what he has said, I have had that experience. There was a transaction that I was in, and this wasn't even for a house, but for a car. And while there may be ways to transfer money between accounts, because a lot of the banks, as most of us would know, have a digital platform. And again, this is by itself and perhaps could be another subject of many other calls, the whole digital input and footprint that banks are beginning to develop. And we are certain that this is only going to accelerate. And there were ways to transfer money between your main account and your credit card. But there was no way to effect such a transfer for a situation in which you're paying for a vehicle, such as I was doing the last year or two. And I imagine by extension, if you're in a house. Now, I want to endorse what Professor Mark has said with respect to the payments um, on a house, and that we should not try to exceed more than 10 to 15%, 10 to 15 years, sorry. And furthermore, that we should seek to go above the 25%, certainly not the 10 and 15%, because the smaller the down payment, it is the larger the loan amount. And because of how large that loan amount is, that is where the bank makes its money, on the amortized income that results. And let's be clear, the banks at the end of the day have shareholders. And these guys are the ones that drive what returns need to be made. And for the returns to be made, there must be an encouragement, in inverted commas, for persons to make the minimum down payment or no down payment. Many of us may remember to purchase a car years ago, there was a certain requirement. All right, the banks called it an equity that the person borrowing had to make in it. Now we are seeing situations where you don't have to pay anything down at all. And instead of 4 or 5 years, it's 6 and 7 years and so on. So that we have to be aware of these things. And as Professor Mark has said, get a more intimate understanding of the way the banks work, and now even credit unions. The credit unions are becoming under the whole financial supervisory ambit of the central bank. And what you're going to start seeing even more is a cross-pollination effect. So the credit unions are going to start mimicking certain best practices, so to speak, of the banks. And the banks now, to maintain their competitive advantage, and we're going to talk a lot about that, I imagine, as we take this format into level 2, where we begin to talk about PESTEL and SWOT analysis and so on, are going to start mimicking elements that are competitive, talking about returns on investment and shareholder expectations and the like. So let me stop at this stage, because we could continue for the next hour or so or more as
Indeed.
this discussion progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really love the information that we've shared this morning. Had me as well taking copious notes. All right. So, Ivan, I have been taking copious notes, sir, as well in this whole thing. Now, to summarize, because time is always against us and always moving forward, that's why we always need to respect time. But I am sure, OneAcademites, that you really had a lot of information that was shared in the last 20, 25 minutes with Dr. Ivan Mark. I guess that's why he has spent so much time in the financial sector for the last maybe quarter century of his life, and has really developed that experience, that hands-on experience. So to recap some of the things that would have been discussed in the last 20, 25 minutes, it is best that you actually pay off your mortgage between a 10 to a 15-year period. The reason for that is that it'll definitely work in your favor. But of course, in the process of sometimes paying off, due to the amortization, take note of that word, amortization. You can go on to investopedia.com and get some more information about amortization as it relates to how that actually works. So it works against us sometimes in terms of paying off your mortgage early. All right, a number of things that actually came up in terms of your loan amount. We also talked about the penalties for paying off your loan payments earlier. that's just part of how the banking system operates. And when we initiate loans from many credit institutions, we need to be mindful of what we are actually engaging, and don't just get emotionally sensitized and happy because, yes, I'm getting a loan, I'm going to finally get my house. But you also have to understand it's not just building the house or maybe buying the house. It's, can I maintain, can I afford to keep it? Worst case scenario, right? Another thing that we really need to talk about, but we will continue along this discussion, is the issue of hire purchase, that whole aspect of consumer debt. We get caught with, these small payments, but when you add up those small payments in 1 or 2 years, you end up paying maybe 2, 3 times more for the item, like a TV. And we've all had that kind of experience. I probably could have had 3 TVs in my house after a couple of years after paying off for one. So really and truly, guys, financial intelligence is really important. We're going to continue these discussions as we move forward with OneAcademy, the new format, to really bring the information to you to help you be informed. Yes,
excuse
Ivan.
Mr. Putin, but you made a very critical point here, and I saw that Dwayne actually put it in the chat.
Okay.
Right? These companies come under the purview of probably the guise of selling furniture and electronics, and really and
Indeed.
truly, they are credit institutions, right?
Wow.
Because here's the kick: you would purchase a TV that will depreciate very, very quickly, right? Yet you pay for it 3, 4 years at triple the amount that it really supposed to cost. And that money that you are spending on that could actually be investment money. Yeah? And that is the thing that people don't understand. So yes, you take a higher purchase because it is convenient now, but whatever is easy now becomes more difficult, and whatever is difficult now becomes easier. And that is why the habit of saving for investment is very critical, because it forms a very strong new pathway in your brain that allows you now to really form that habit of putting away. As they say, take care of the pennies, and the dollars will take care of themselves. So
Indeed.
yeah, so once you see that and you realize that you purchase something that will in fact depreciate, it doesn't add to you, it just depreciates. It really is critical for you to see it in that dimension. All right. So just a
Powerful point.
note, just a footnote.
That's a very powerful side note, Ivan. All right,
Yeah.
as we wrap up, guys, it's very important. This consumer debt. We're going to be going more into consumer debt discussions. I don't want you to go into consumer debt more. We're going to talk about it and how it negatively impacts the amount of income that we have, that we spend so much money trying to acquire things. We do have nothing to invest, so we have nothing towards the future. And sometimes if something happens, God forbid, that you start your car in the morning and it can't start, you're kind of scampering around to get some money to put a battery into your car. All right, so those are some of the things that we need to be mindful of. So as we wrap up, before I hand over this call once again to Maureen out of Barbados, it's very important for us to understand that we have the Deal Shaker event that's going to be in Trinidad and Tobago on July the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. It is an international event. We do have the early bird specials right now. It's €150. For those with the early bird specials, that's about $13.50 TT dollars. And of course, after the 15th, it goes up to 200. Of course, we have the gallery event, which is going to be on the Friday, the 20th. It's the One World Foundation gallery event. All right, that's an awesome event for those who are actually in Panama. The last time I had the experience with that, for those who don't know, it's very close to Dr. Rouge's heart. Part of the One Life network is the One World Foundation, which helps children in over 16 and now 17 countries. Over 2,000 plus projects have been done through this One World Foundation project, helping bridge the gap of not only education for children, but providing meals and support. So you're part of an organization that's definitely making its mark globally, not just in cryptocurrency, not just in OneAcademy, but helping people live better lives. And that's why you really need to be on these calls, so that you can make a difference. All right. So on the 21st, that's where we have the Deal Shaker event. It's open to the public, it's basically free. And of course, the masterclass, which is going to be a class that's going to be taught by international attendees, Blue Diamonds, Black Diamonds. You need to be at this event, whether you're in Trinidad, Barbados, St. Vincent, Jamaica, Suriname, wherever. So Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean Deal Shaker is on. We need your full support so that we can let the world know what the Caribbean has. We have a lot of new merchants and upcoming merchants that are, in fact, going to be selling their deals. Very exciting. You get a chance to use your coins. Usability, guys, is about creating value. All right. So I sort of expired my time. Of course, your final wrap up words, Dr. A, before we hand over the call to Marine.
This was a tremendous call this morning, and there's so much material, there's so much information that will perhaps fill several hours of calls. I don't think we can exhaust the value that definitely will emerge with this new format. I certainly, I'm very humbled to be on a call with esteemed gentlemen such as yourself, Professor P and Professor Mark. And I want to just share something quickly as my wrap up as I listen to Ivan talk about taking care of the pennies, looking after the pennies so that the dollars will take care of themselves. We should each try an exercise, and that is take an Excel spreadsheet and put 1 cent in and double it every day for 30 days. And tell me, perhaps tomorrow or later on, whether you don't end up with in excess of $5 million. Thanks again, Professor P, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. A. And of course, we will be continuing this discussion tomorrow again, the same time, 6 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time, 5 a.m. Jamaica, and of course, 11 a.m. if you're in Algeria, Africa, and of course, further afield, it's about lunchtime, even if you're in Zimbabwe or other parts of the world. I want to thank all the attendees that have taken time to be on this call. We do appreciate the fact that you've taken your time, your commitment, and your dedication to be part of this One Life movement, which is gaining traction and moving by leaps and bounds. We want to thank all the diamonds that have been in this call. Mr. King James, your presence is duly noted, sir. It's really appreciative to have you here on this call. Dr. Ivan Mark, really appreciate you, all the years of experience coming to fruition and having you to share this information on the call. Of course, Dr. Ivan and your lovely wife, I didn't forget Michelle as well, all right? And most importantly, Dr. Alvin Morton, always a pleasure. All right, so this call, for me, we have come to the end of the call. We're going to actually have Miss Maureen Brown out of Barbados, who may do a few announcements and wrap up the call. Thank you so much. Maureen, it's back over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Larry and Ivan, as well as Alvin. Oh my goodness, we are on a journey to becoming knowledgeable and wise investors, and it is exciting. Okay, well, usually I would try to get at least one or two contributions. However, this morning I wouldn't be doing that because our Diamond King James is on the call and he wants to have a word with us. So without any further ado, I am going to unmute his mic now and he will speak to us. King James, over to you.
Pleasant good morning, everyone. Can you hear me loud and clear, Mallory?
Yes, you are coming through loud and clear.
Most important, it's such an exciting call this morning. I mean, I really appreciate all the contribution by the top leaders themselves. But before I jump into one or two thoughts, that's going to be really brief this morning. I believe a lot has been shared, a lot has been said, and I want to stay on the theme of the call. We do, however, have an international presence amongst us. One of many. We have a few international presence amongst us, but one of many. But one that's coming to our event at the Deal Shaker Expo, as Larry just so notably expounded on. And this young lady is a blue diamond out of Algeria. A blue diamond, as a former teacher by profession, but I guess she's still a teacher because she's teaching this OneAcademy education all throughout the world. I've seen her in numerous countries contributing and developing a massive organization. Someone I really respect and look up to. I'm hoping that she's hearing me and she could probably unmute her mic or get her mic unmuted. But Miss Malika, are you there, my dear? Could we see if we could help her, Marine, with unmuting the mic?
It is unmuted. Her mic is unmuted. Hello, Malika? She might not be there.
All right. No problem. Malika? Maybe she stepped away from her
Yeah,
phone.
from her phone, yeah, probably.
All right. No problem. Well, I know. There she go. There she go. She
Oh, okay, one moment, because I kind
um
of muted it again. So I have
yes.
to unmute it. Ooh, one moment, one moment. What's happening here?
Just want to give her the opportunity to just share really quick, just a 1 minute, so you guys could also see the type of individuals that we are attracting to our Day Shaker Expo. And I would encourage us to make sure we are well represented, meaning your team, your organization.
Okay, Malika, you're muted. You can go ahead and speak. Hello, Malika, you're unmuted. Malika?
All right, so we're having some little small technical difficulties, unfortunately. So
Mm.
maybe another point in time. I know she's always willing to join with us and be a part of us. So as I move right along, just to drop these two thoughts before we disappear or everyone off the call. It was really quite amazing that we having a conversation. And Larry, I found it downright hilarious when you mentioned having a bank on the call. That'll be so awesome. I found it hilarious because I don't know of anyone that's so brave. Because now that you're so well educated with this One Academy concept and what's really happening and the whole financial revolution that we're igniting together, team, it is like baffling some of the things that take place in the sector and some of the bold-facedness, if we do say it so themselves. I mean, I am in the middle of a transaction which I'm about to head over to the bank right now because somebody sent money to my account, which the bank encourage you to wire transfer money now, bank to bank, and then I'm not seeing any money released. I called to find out what is going on, and they had the audacity to tell me I need to come in and do a source of funds. I said, why? How? I said, somebody sent money to my business account because of the amount I need to do a source of funds. I said, but you know where the source of the funds coming from? They are sending money to me. I sell products and services. That's what my business account do. What do you mean a source of funds before you release my money? But nonetheless, that's what I have to go in there and do. And what I'm saying is, and why I mentioned that is, we really have to go out there and educate the masses, and we ourselves understand what it is we're receiving. We're receiving knowledge that if we pass on to our children and pass on to our loved ones and pass on to the people that's around us, even the people who we don't like. This is how powerful this information is. This is the type of information you want to share with everyone because you want to give them the chance to say they didn't know. You want to give them a chance to say that they knew. They cannot hide. This is an educational platform that I would freely speak about because I'm so excited about what it is we are learning. That whole mortgage situation. Some people want to know why you buy a house, why you renting. I said because I choose to, and if you really want Academy, it'll advise you to do such until you can afford to really have the home that you desire. And furthermore, if you understand the market that we're in, they're speaking about a imminent crash with the dollar to begin with. Secondly, overall a financial crash, which means mortgages and homes and land is going to do what? So now is not the time to be buying assets per se, but it's the time to be acquiring the hot and coming hottest asset in the world that I believe right now, which is the One Life, One Academy concept. So I would encourage us to really understand what it is we have to in our hands, understand this financial evolution, gain the information as Larry so showed you in our One Academy there, where you talk about learning new information. This is new information that is not new. This is information that they normally put in books because they say we don't read, so they hide it from us. Because we would have never paid attention to this. But because there's such kickbacks and benefits, we are forced to learn. But in the learning process, you get excited and you want to learn some more. I am so elated by the opportunity to present this particular One Academy education, friends, that I believe we are doing an injustice to others if we do not spread and share this powerful knowledge. I helped a IME who was looking to buy a house. I said, brother, now is not time to buy the house. Take that down payment money and find yourself with some more one coins. And it's so said, so done. So much so that then he saw land on the deal shaker. He said, but wait, I received the coins for X. The land is selling at X. I could buy the land that I'm looking for. I said, this is the reason why I suggested not to go after the home right about now. Within the next 2 years, maybe you can look at those things. What I'm saying is, understand this process that we're in. And tomorrow, as we have the OneAcademy discussion, I'll expound a little bit on the mining process and tie it in with whatever discussion we have tomorrow. I'm going to show you how the mining process ties into the concept. Friends, I'm just excited. Forgive me for my excitement, but please believe you need to be excited, especially early in the morning, that you have that drive, that you open your mouth to the person who would feel they know and they don't know. We are in demand, a high demand, I suggest to you. So with all that being said, have a fruitful day today. Go out there, become the ones destined to be. We are in the most awesome positions of our life. Mold it, understand it, accept it, and become it. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you all. That Deal Shaker Expo. Don't be late. Get the early bird special. If not, pay a full price. Either which way, participate. Thank you guys, man. Marina, turning back over to you. Thanks for your time once more.
Thank you, King James. Powerful words. OneAcademites, we are equipped to go forward and ensure that we educate, educate, educate. So I want to say to you, we are on a journey to becoming knowledgeable and wise investors. As Dr. Ruja says, we're learning today so we can lead tomorrow. Please go forward. Have a wonderful, a great, productive One Life Day. This call will end now. Bye-bye.